What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. I am the opinionated idiot. It is Wednesday evening, the 4th of January, 2023, and there is a lot going on in the Bryan Kohberger case. It's really moving along, and just as a couple of hours ago, he was being extradited back to Moscow, Idaho, to see his arrest affidavit. And that's what everybody right now at this point is really banking on, seeing what's in that sealed affidavit. And there's no real timeline out there right now as to when that is going to be released. I was actually kept catching up on a couple of Reddits just with some new information. So I want to go over some discussion in Reddit. I want to go over some discussions this evening as far as if the evidence is not rock solid, what could we see here? And as far as right now, the statement that Bryan has made that he is going to be exonerated from this crime. So I think, as much of the rumor that's been going on out there, that he wants to get extradited quickly back to Idaho so he can see what's in that affidavit. This is possibly, with his criminal PhD, could help him with his lawyer knowing what's in that to try to find a ways around maybe some of the evidence that's in there, or a way to present their defense. I do know that I was reading today that they have Bryan's legal team has hired a crime scene expert. So I know that they are really mounting up for his defense here. I'm sure that it's going to cost him a huge amount of money. I'm not sure what his family net worth is or where this money is coming from. But as far as I know, there is a rumor that they have hired a criminal crime scene expert. So interesting stuff so far. Very, very interesting stuff. And I wanted to pull up, let's see. I want to focus on the two videos that were released today or over the last couple of days. The Indiana stops, the ones that were on December 15th. And I want to go through that, especially the first one. The first one is very interesting. There's a lot of things, and I'd like to break that down and point out some things that I kind of noticed in those videos as well. So let's pull up this subreddit here, and I was looking. Let's see. Sorry, kind of fidgeting through. So it kind of gives in this subreddit a little bit of a timeline of Bryan's movement and where he was. I found this to be interesting. This was placed about 5 hours ago. It says Bryan Kohberger was pulled over a mile from the Idaho murder homes months before the killings. And I'll pull that up. It's a TMZ article. And this is one of the things that I wanted to go over. So let me just switch frames here. And we'll pull up that article and go over that. If you haven't seen that, this was new to me. I didn't even know this. So from TMZ, it says Idaho murderer suspect pulled over 1 mile from the murder house months before the massacre. Man, they really like to place those words in there. It says Bryan Kohberger, the man arrested for the 4 University Idaho students, was pulled over for the murder of the 4 University Idaho students, was pulled over by cops a mile and a half away from the murder house a couple of months before the killings. The Uh, the county sheriff confirms to TMZ Kohberger was stopped by police in late August, less than 2 miles from the home where the murders happened, and was ticketed for not wearing a seatbelt. And get this, Kohberger was driving a white Hyundai Elantra when he was pulled over near the University of Idaho campus, just down the road from where the murders took place a few months ago. And they have like a map here of where Kohberger was pulled over and a map of the actual murder location. According to the traffic citation, Kohberger was pulled over on August 21st at 11:40 p.m. and he was driving a 2015 white Hyundai Elantra with Pennsylvania license plates. Remember, the quadruple murder happened the night of November 13th, and during the investigation, police eventually asked the public for help finding a white Hyundai Elantra. Then it just goes on to talk about when he was arrested at his parents' house on the 30th. So, this kind of places him in August, um, just a mile and a half from where the murders actually took place. So, is this coincidence that he was in that area, or is this part of things that we may find out in that affidavit that he had been stalking these particular individuals? Uh, months before, or a month before he actually, a couple months before he actually did the murder. So I found that to be interesting. This was something new that I didn't even know of today. And I just wanted to pull that up if you guys haven't seen that there. Oh, what was one of the other interesting things that I found? Um, this was kind of interesting. Let's see. So this is a person that says, interesting interview with someone that Brian knew in high school. So looks like there's some things here. Looks like someone had interviewed one of Brian's high school acquaintances. So they typed out things that stood out to me. You can listen to the interview here. So I guess there is a actual interview on tape. It's about 35 minutes. I'm not going to play through the entire thing, but we can go through some of the highlights here. So it says that he confirms he was bullied for being overweight, but eventually lost the weight, gained confidence, and started talking to girls and had girlfriends. Says the report about Brian turned into a bully in high school is not true. Mentions drugs hit the Poconos hard after he left college. Can't confirm Brian did any drugs though. He would have never imagined Brian would have done something like this. Brian was very smart, went to academic after school programs. His mom was very nice. Brian doesn't seem to believe Brian did this. Still, he wants justice for if he did. And again, I want to mention here that everybody in any case, when they are arrested and accused of something, they are always presumed innocent until proven guilty. And I just make that very clear here on this channel, that we give everybody due process. They get to go to trial and defend themselves, even though if the evidence is so hard against them, they still have that right in this country to go to a fair trial. So I'll just read on a few more of these here. Says that Brian was very smart, doesn't seem that Brian would do it, doesn't think Brian's on the spectrum, but I'm not sure if he fully understood what that is. Doesn't think he's crazy either. He's pissed off because he's seeing a lot of false information about Brian and his family. Says he spoke with someone who's talking to the press about Brian. This person called him and said the media completely twisted his words. Again, he really doesn't seem to believe Brian could do this, doesn't understand how he could kill 4 people with a knife and then the next day show up at his TA job without a scratch or anything. It's just kind of sad. It seems like it seems a lot of people in his life are taken aback by this and have a hard time accepting it and feel bad for them. Some more talk about how it's hard to believe, but you never know what people are thinking. Both the friend and the podcast host don't understand how he would do something so dumb, like driving to the murder scene with his own car and then drive it across country. He doesn't think Brian would be that stupid. So something like that, I mean, if you're someone that's completely brazen, someone that's completely, um, kind of wrapped up in this fantasy, and at that point, things like that may just slip out of your mind because the obsession or that addiction to do this is so strong. Um, so that could be a possibility why he's just being so brazen and went ahead and did this. And again, it allegedly did this. Um, and this will all come out in court. And like I said, there was reports today that Brian had been speaking and saying that he's going to get back to Idaho and be completely exonerated of this. But right now, it's really looking, like this is allegedly the guy that allegedly did all of this. Um, I think the dead set evidence is what why we're kind of frothing at the mouth for the affidavit is because the big connection out there is that Brian has been linked to the crime scene of DNA evidence, and the way that they got this was through a DNA registry bank, through I think through a family member or something like that, and they matched the DNA to that, and it came back with Brian's DNA. So it's funny. I was talking with a colleague at work about this afternoon because obviously this has been one of the biggest things that have happened over the last couple of months, and really everybody's been paying attention to it. But um to you know is his DNA just found at somewhere in the house, or is his DNA found exactly right at the murder scene? So, is it under someone's fingernails? Was his DNA found under someone's If it's something like that, I mean, that's dead set going to put him in the house. It's going to put him at the time of those crimes. It's going to put him right there at the crime scene. If it's something like they found a handprint somewhere or on a counter, I mean, he could turn around, use the defense like, hey, I went over there. As you guys know, there's multiple parties in and out in around that location. I was been invited over to parties. I've hung out over there before. So, you could see some kind of defense like that mounted from his defense team if it's not a solid piece of evidence that, it's in the blood or under someone's fingernails, or, contact on their clothes, or something like that. So again, I think we're really all really frothing, frothing to see what this sealed affidavit is going to have inside of it. So let me read a little bit more of this here. Brian never got into trouble as a juvenile, never got into trouble in school either. Not even one time. He probably was a top 5 or top 10 of 500 and 600 people in class. He didn't even have time to get in trouble. Met his dad one time, blue collar worker, had an HVAC company or construction company. Reiterates that how nice his mom was, and uh, he recalls how much he liked her and how much he didn't. His acquaintance spoke of one Brian's really good friends. This other friend seems to believe Brian did it. Thinks maybe someone had happened. If this person believes he might have done it. Person he knew in high school wouldn't have been able to kill an animal. To go from that to murdering 4 people, something must have happened. So I thought that was kind of interesting. And again, this was a interview with a former high school classmate of Bryan Kohberger. And if you want to go over, you can check this out on Reddit. What else did I see that was interesting? They kind of followed along the flight plan. I would think now we're at about 8 p.m. on the East Coast. I would think that by this time Brian is back in Idaho, getting ready to face charges or get his initial hearing in Idaho, possibly tomorrow or sometime on Friday. Let's see. According to the latest county clerk, the affidavit in Bryan Kohberger's case will be released after his initial hearing, likely due to a formal reading the charges first. So after the charges are read, that will become an unsealed document, and then we'll be able to take a look at it. Again, people were just kind of outlining that he landed in Rapid City. Here's the waiver here from Brian himself, the signed extradition waiver, and it's from the Commonwealth of the 43rd Judicial District Commonwealth of Pennsylvania basically says, I hereby certify Bryan Kohberger, of my own free will voluntarily agree to return to the state of Idaho as a prisoner from County of Monroe, Commonwealth, Pennsylvania, and for the purpose of answering to charges. Furthermore, I here waive all formality, and I'm willing to return to the state of Idaho without governor's requisition and other papers necessary in such cases to do exonerate the county of Monroe for any blame, compulsions, interference in this connection. And you can see there, Bryan has signed his name, Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania, January 3rd, 2023. I certify, and it's very interesting. It looks like the court document, if you look right here, the court document was still probably not quite updated to 2023. And I don't have a pointer, but you can see there, Bryan actually wrote the number 3 there. I certify that above was read and signed by me. In agreement has been without compulsion, threat, or force in any part of authorities here, and upon the free desire of Bryan Kohberger. And he signs, and it looks like there's a witness. It's probably a clerk. And as people are, I always love comments sometimes. Handwriting analyzed experts commenting 1, 2, 3, go. He's wearing handcuffs while signing, so that shouldn't be considered. Haha, good point. But he's just being sarcastic. So people are just commenting, joking around about the handwriting. Idaho suspect could be, and then some people were just writing about listening to the air traffic control. I mean, they're really getting deep down into the details, following along what his moves are and where he's going. And this is where I got this here. New York Post posted, and I'll pull up this article about Kohberger hiring a criminal defense crime scene expert. Let's look at that really quick. So from New York Post, it says Idaho murder suspect Bryan Kohberger's parents hire crime scene reconstruction expert. That's very interesting. And we got some video here of Bryan actually getting out and walked into court, or actually leaving court, looks like. So his parents are putting up some money for the defense. And it looks like this is just kind of on a loop. So it says accused killer Bryan Kohberger's defense team has hired a veteran Washington State crime scene reconstruction expert. Wow. I wonder if there's any connection to Bryan there. Just knowing, being at Washington State University. Wow. Forensic expert Matthew, oh boy, I'm not going to be able to pronounce that last name. Nodell? Yeah, owner and operator of Nodell Scientific, and his team spent 5 hours inside the home of 1122 King Street, Moscow, where the 4 University Idaho students were brutally stabbed on November 13th, while Kohberger faced Pennsylvania judge on Tuesday and agreed to be extradited to Idaho. Nodell's team painstakingly examined the inside of the three-story house and the perimeter of the property, which had earlier been combed for evidence by police forensic teams. The Post confirmed that Moscow police, Kohberger's legal team, including the state-appointed defense attorney, Ann Taylor, so he does have a state-appointed defense attorney, was at the home Tuesday. Nodell is seen going in and out of the home wearing white gloves and surgical foot covers on his shoes. According to the website, Nodell's specialties include crime scene reconstruction, bloodstain pattern analysis, and shooting reconstruction. This is going to be a very, very interesting court case. It's going to be very meticulous. If this is something where there's not any solid evidence, this is going to be a incredibly interesting case to follow. I mean, I am really into this deep to see how the prosecution is going to mount their case, how the defense is going to mount their case. And this is going to be a huge case of cat and mouse. It says forensic expert Matthew Nodell, owner and operator of Nodell Scientific, spent 5 hours inside the home where the students were murdered. And as we know, that crime scene was opened back up and shut down per a court order of the Moscow, Idaho court. So that became a closed crime scene once again. And remember, it was last Friday. It was believed that it was going to be scheduled to be cleaned, and then came the arrest of Bryan, and then the court order came through to obviously not clean the house, and they need to leave that open for more examination. So got some pictures of this Mr. Nodell, this crime scene expert, going in and out of the house. Looks like he's taking some photos via the tripod, and I probably believe there's some camera gear in there as well. And we got a fun little advertisement. He says, Mr. Nodell, he claims to be more than 30 years experience in the field and provides 2 and 3D models of his findings when called. Oh, okay. So, all right. So this piece of equipment is actually a camera that will go inside the house. They'll set up on a tripod, and it will actually take a 2D or a 3D dimensional of the specific crime scene that they have. And it's basically like a scanner, like you're scanning a photo or something like that, to take an actual copy, and then they can use that to go in and actually reconstruct. So we'll do like a 360-degree photo. It's actually a really cool piece of equipment. Let's see. It says the evolution and examination of bloodstains at the crime scene is often overlooked and misunderstood. According to Nodell's scientific website, bloodstains can exist on clothing walls, hidden behind baseboards, and under carpets. Do not underestimate the significance of bloodstains. Over the years, Nodell has been called as defense expert witness to numerous shocking cases, including the trial of Christopher Cruz, who was charged in 2015 murder of his wife Janet in Worthington, Ohio. Nodell offered a second opinion on firearm and crime scene analysis on the Cruz case, and jury ended up acquitting him after 12 hours of deliberation. Nodell also was used as an expert speaking in the Fox investigation into rapper Tupac Shakur's death. Very interesting. Wow. So again, if you guys are just joining the stream, I see a couple people that have popped on and joined. I want to welcome everybody over here, just kind of hanging out this evening, getting caught up on the latest Bryan Kohberger news. I would say right now he's probably back in Idaho, and we'll probably see him hopefully in court tomorrow and get the release of the affidavit. If it's not tomorrow, then I would assume that it's probably going to be on Friday before the weekend. So we should hear some interesting news. And this is, if you're just catching on here, I'm catching up on an article. I guess it looks like Bryan's parents had hired a crime scene reconstruction expert already. His name is Matthew Nodell, and he was over at the King Street house today, actually doing 2 and 3D scans of the house. So I'm sure that they'll be mounting some information and start to work on that case for Bryan. And again, I just want to make it very clear here, all evidence here is really pointing in the direction of Bryan, but everybody, as we know, in any criminal proceedings, everybody has due process and can go through the process and get a fair trial. But it's interesting. It's going to be really, really interesting to see what happens and comes out of this. And again, I think it's going to be a very interesting, intricate case. I think that Bryan's team is going to have an incredibly, if there's not, like I said, if there's not solid DNA evidence, as it rumored that there is at that crime scene, I think it's going to be really hard on the prosecution to. They're going to have to mount one hell of a case, really one hell of a case. And I talked about this early in the stream. I mean, what if it's not solid DNA evidence specifically where the murder scene was? Let's say Bryan's DNA is not in that room. It's not mixed in the blood. It's not under the fingernails. It's not, let's just say it's in another room. They find a fingerprint or a handprint or some of his DNA there. The defense can just turn around and say, look, you guys know what kind of house this was. There were people coming and going. Look at all the footage that's been released, the house parties. Brian was just over here partying. You saw how many people came in and out of the house. He didn't do this. He was just over here hanging out on a couple of nights. So again, I think it's going to need actual solid DNA evidence at the point of where the crime was to really place him there. So I wanted to pull up the new released the first stop in Indiana, and I think I found some things very interesting in that video that I want to play through, and we can go through and discuss. And feel free, you guys can chat there. I know there's a couple people watching. But let's pull up the video. And if you guys haven't seen the video of the first body cam video of the first stop in Indiana, you guys can go over and check it out on my channel. I'm going to drop the link down there. I appreciate if you do watch it. You can watch it on my channel. Upvote, like, comment. We love all that stuff. So, all right, let's do this. Let's play through this. And I want to take some notes on some very interesting things that happened during this stop. So first of all, we know that there's two stops. This was the first one, and then there was another one that wasn't too far up the road. And in the second stop, they actually mentioned like, hey, we had already been pulled over. And this is where I want to find them. Hopefully this is in the affidavit. I think that these stops were to get an eye on him. And they're saying that at this time there wasn't, Indiana State Police or Indiana Police didn't know that they were actually looking for this white Elantra at the time. And I find that very hard to believe just because the nature of the stop, the questions that were asked during the stop. And I know it seemed like very basic questions that were being asked, but I find it interesting that we get when the trooper gets right up to the car, immediately he says, "Let me see your licenses." And, usually you get, when I've had any type of traffic stop, when I've been pulled over for speeding tickets, like, hey, where are you going? It wasn't even really any of those questions. Like, let's see your licenses. So let's play through this really quick, and we can
recording.
Hello. How you doing? How y'all doing today? Good. Take a look at your driver's license real quick.
Boom, right there. Let's take a look at your driver's licenses really quick. And it's like you can kind of see Brian seems very nervous, kind of shaking back and forth, kind of withdraw body language. See, he's like, hey,
Take a look at your driver's
see, he
license
seems
real
very
quick.
stiff.
Your driver's license. Good.
Let me back this up a little bit.
Hello. How you doing? How y'all doing today?
See, he's kind of like,
Good.
does kind of a mock smile there. Just
Take a look at your driver's
and
license
he
real
looks
quick if I could.
nervous. And even the body language, he gets all tensed up. He's tight. Father's kind of looking over at him really quick.
See, he's right up on that van, man. He was right up on the back end of that van. Pulled you over for tailgating.
He's very nervous.
Is this your car? Okay. Cool.
That there too it's a little interesting. Like, hey, is this your car?
Where are you headed? Well,
and I apologize. It seems, the audio is a little hard to hear. This is very interesting too. So the trooper asked them, where are you going? And it seemed like Brian was talking. And then when his father now says, well, actually, we're coming from Washington State University. And look at Brian's face here. He's just kind of eyeballing his dad like, shut up.
Coming from WSU. And
now it's kind of that, like, nervous, like, yep.
What's WSU? That is watching.
This is interesting too. He starts talking about his dad starts talking about an incident that happened at the school. I'm not going to talk about it because I'm not going to say the words because I'll probably get shot down. But it was a bang bang incident that happened over at Washington State University. And it's very interesting that's kind of going on at the same time of all of this too. So
we're okay. I'm having a hard time hearing you because of the traffic. So you're coming from Washington State University, and you're going where?
and he's saying, and Bryan says here, oh, we're just going to get some Thai food. And then I think his dad is going to open up now and say, no, well, we're heading back to Pennsylvania. And he's kind of giving him that eyeball look again, like, shut up.
Oh,
Right there. It's, see his dad, we're going to be going to Pennsylvania. So this, and there was a lot of speculation about his father knowing, if his father knew what was actually going on. And there's been some conversation about that because we know that Bryan's dad flew out to Washington State University to meet up with Bryan to drive back to Pennsylvania. Seemed kind of weird because of everything that had been going on. Now, I want to be curious I guess Bryan's dad has been actually fully cooperating with the police at this time and has talked about this. And I'm sure if anything came up now, if he knew anything about that, you probably would have heard something by now. But his dad said this trip was actually planned to go out, get Bryan, drive back with him for Christmas, and then he would have drove back on his own to go back out to school. I think there was probably looked into, when was that plane ticket booked? Was it booked months in advance, or was it booked right around the time of the crime? I don't think his dad has anything to do with it. I know a lot of people speculating if he knew about it while they were driving back. Did Bryan say anything to him? I'm not so sure, because why would his dad just open up and be like, oh yeah, we're going to Pennsylvania? And every time that the trooper starts to try to get some kind of evidence, Bryan's kind of deterring it in one direction, like, oh hey, we're going to get Thai food, but then his dad's like, actually we're going back to Pennsylvania. So
oh, okay.
I'm gonna push back a little bit.
Oh,
right there he says, I'm gonna go get some Thai food. We'll go back.
so we're okay. I'm having a hard time hearing you because of the traffic. So you're coming from Washington State University, and you're going where?
Right there, Thai food.
Oh, we're going to be going to Pennsylvania. Oh, okay. Yeah. We're slightly.
It almost looks like Bryan goes like a quick shut up. Let's see if we can see that again. Let's take a look. I wish I could zoom in.
Okay. Yeah. We're slightly.
Right there at about 111. Let's go back. Watch it about 111, 112.
Oh, okay.
It's almost like a
slightly
right there. That kind of like
hours, days.
Yeah. Bryan seems really nervous.
Say that some SWAT team thing? Or
there was
the body language is forward, kind of like, I want to get out of here type of thing. He's leaned forward. The belt is the belt is tight. He's forward. It's kind of like rocking.
Where?
He's talking really fast too.
Interesting.
He keeps eyeballing his dad. I know that in the second video, there was someone had pointed out what looked like a large scratch on his arm or a cut. And they can't tell if that, because these body cams, when they're not really the best, clearest footage, but they was trying to see if that was kind of a cut or just something like a reflection from the video, because skin tones can get kind of messed up sometimes in these videos, or when they're pulling them off, they're not as clear.
Mm-hmm. So y'all work at the university there?
I actually do work there.
Oh. Okay.
God, it's so eerie. They're just telling, oh, he's a PhD student, and it's so eerie.
Okay. Yeah, I hadn't heard about that incident just yesterday, or
This happened this morning. About an hour and a half ago, we're still wrapping up. I'm not sure the solution is because they did shoot somebody,
let's see.
and then we don't know about that actually. They were there, they were shooting out of the window or something.
Interesting.
It's very interesting that you would be talking about that, coming from a specific place that had a bang bang incident, and here you are on the road coming from that area. Now you're talking about it. It's a little weird. Surprised the trooper didn't ask any more questions, but
Wow. Okay. So do me a favor, don't follow too close, okay?
I'm telling you, I feel like the stop was just to totally check out what was going on with that car, who was in that car. They ID'd him. I still feel like this was part of the investigation, and then they get him again. And I'm gonna play that second video next.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate you.
I want to go back to the car here and just look. Let's see what the car looks like.
Thank you.
It was kind of beat up,
Appreciate
or just really dirty.
you.
Let's go back to the inside the car and see if we can see anything. I know that someone said something about Bryan maybe having black gloves in his lap. Can't quite see anything here. Looks like there's some water bottles. Someone's charging a phone. Can't see anything here. Is the trooper's arms in the way? Let's go back here real quick. I don't think we're going to get a clear picture. Oh, what's that? Yeah. Anyway, let's go to the second video. So this would be the second video when they're pulled over. See if we can see anything there. Wow, this video is a lot louder. Let me turn my headphones down a little bit, and we'll pull this one up and go through it. Let's analyze this one here. All right, here we go. Let's play the second stop. So they were stopped twice. One was the first stop, first trooper, and this is the second one. Really dirty. Looks like it's got some damage right here on the door too.
When I stopped you when you were driving by me there, you were looking close to back at semi. In the back of this trailer.
Interesting. They got pulled over for the same thing on this too.
From that one car, you were 10 miles an hour, so going 60 or 70 miles an hour, about 6 or 7 cars. Oh, you guys did? Yeah.
Now discussing, it's hard to hear, but he's saying we just got pulled over. We just got pulled over.
So, you guys stopped by a trooper? We don't have any SUVs. It was a county guy. Was it like a black SUV? Yeah. Okay. All right. You thought you guys were following too closely? Okay.
And he's talking to and his dad is talking to this police officer or trooper about the same thing, about the bang bang that happened at WSU that day. Very strange. It's interesting.
Well, I'm not going to give you guys another ticket or warning if you just got stopped. Just make sure you give yourself plenty of room, okay? So like I said, it's all about how fast you're going, okay?
Car's really dirty.
Going 10 miles an hour, you only need one car. Or if you're going, so speed limit here is 70. you're going 7 miles an hour, you get 7 car calls. Yeah, that's the easy way to explain it. Right? Yeah, it's really it's in the B&B man, it says 2%. All right, you guys have a safe trip. Where y'all heading? Thank you so much for the time. Where y'all heading to?
I want to find where you can see Bryan's arm in this video. There's some speculation that there could be a cut there, and I think someone is saying that they might have seen some black gloves in his lap as well too. As we know, he was wearing gloves while there was some reports that he was wearing gloves after the November 13th murders to not have obviously his fingerprints anywhere. So.
Where at? Yeah, it's a long haul. You guys scared of airplanes? Okay. All right, well, hey, peace out, Central. Thanks.
Yeah, I don't think we'll see anything here. Let me scrub. This is going to show basically the same scene outside. Let me go back to the very beginning of the video when he comes up on the car. Yeah, this video is not as clear, but I remember seeing an enhanced photo here of some red mark down here on his arm, and it's hard to see, and I wish I had a pointer where I can point where I'm pointing, but on the outside of his wrist, I've seen an enhanced photo of this actual still in this video, and that's where there's been some. Oh, I guess you can see my pointer. You can see my mouse, but right here, there's been some speculation that there is a cut or a wound there, and then here, this looks like black gloves in his lap. Now I don't know if those are surgical gloves. If they were, I think they're just regular winter gloves. Because if it was a surgical glove, I mean, seeing, this angle into the car, clearly the police officer or the trooper could see, he might ask a question like, why do you have surgical gloves in your lap? But we don't hear anything like that. So I'm just guessing they're probably just regular black, like winter leather gloves or something like that. And this time is Bryan's body language seems to be a little bit more perturbed that they're getting stopped again. But that's the second video. So again, we're just kind of waiting to see what happens. What's going to happen either tomorrow or Friday in Bryan going to court. I haven't heard or seen anything yet of when a set date in Moscow will be for him. But I wanted to pull this up as well, and I found this to be kind of an interesting little subreddit in Reddit talking about what's going on. So it says, the title says, his tone is about to change once he sees the affidavit. And I talked about this earlier. There are some articles out there outlining how they eventually matched the DNA at the scene to Bryan. And if that info is accurate, yikes. In all likelihood, he waived his extradition waiver in order to speed up the process of him going to Idaho so he could see the probable cause affidavit. If he's truly surprised that if he's truly surprised that he got caught, he's probably holding out hope that they rushed to judgment and they arrested him based on weak circumstantial evidence. But I think there's a real chance that once he realizes there is a direct evidence tying him to the crime, he may very well change his tone. I'm not an expert, but do authorities always cut a deal if they can? Because in this case, if the evidence is rock solid, as rumored, I would not offer him a deal. I would convict him and execute him. Or maybe they would leave it up to the family. Probably the families of the victims is what they mean there. The only upside of cutting a deal would to be spare the family from having to sit through the trial, but I would imagine the families would want him executed too. Thoughts or predictions? So I do know in Idaho that I believe there's no death penalty there. Let me take a look. Is there a death penalty in? I don't think it is. Let's see, is there a death penalty? Capital punishment was reinstated in Idaho. Reinstated in Idaho on July 7th, 1973, after the United States Supreme Court struck down all death penalty statutes across the country in 1972. Wow. So, what does Idaho use for the death penalty? The firing squad was added by the legislation in 1982 as an alternative option to lethal injection. In 2009, the firing squad option was removed. Idaho having never executed an inmate by that method. This left lethal injection as the sole execution method. So there is a death penalty in Idaho. There is it's by lethal injection. So yeah, I mean, this is what I said. I think that he wanted to get back to Idaho as quick as possible and they make a great point here to see what kind of evidence is in that affidavit. Is there, circumstantial, like I was saying before, tied to the crime? Absolutely 100%. We got you. Your DNA is in the blood at the crime scene around the victims. Or is this a handprint somewhere? DNA on a kitchen counter, DNA in a bathroom. That's a very good mount for a defense. Like, look, Bryan was just here partying. He came in on the house a few times and hung out. That's how he knew Kaylee and Maddie. That's how he knew Xana. They invited him over. They met somewhere out at a restaurant or a nightclub, and he came over and started partying with us. So that could be a possibility. They're going to need 100% match DNA to the crime scene, solid evidence to get him on this conviction. So lots of good stuff. And again, I think it's going to be a very interesting case. It's going to be a very methodical case and a lot of details. So all right. Well, I wanted to pop on this evening, just get kind of everybody caught up. I wasn't going to do a super long stream this evening as there's not really a lot of new news out there, but there are a lot of, new videos that are being released. I have them all posted up on my page. You can check them out. I have both of the, let me pull my page up here. I have both of the, when Bryan was pulled over twice. I have the, when Bryan was walking in and out of court in Pennsylvania today, at the Pennsylvania State Trooper press conference as well. So if you haven't checked out any of that stuff, you can go over on my page. Please give them a like, share, comment. That helps this channel along. If it's your first time over here, please subscribe. I really would appreciate it. Trying to get this channel going, trying to get it moving in the algorithm, and just going to keep working at this and see where this case goes. I definitely am going to be following it, and hopefully going to be working on some videos tomorrow as well. Maybe I can dig around and see, what I can come up with, if there's anything new out there that we haven't seen. But again, this is going to rely on seeing what's in that sealed affidavit. Hopefully we get something tomorrow. We can read through it and see where it goes from there, what kind of evidence they do have. Again, I want to thank everybody this evening for hanging out with me. I had a lot of fun over here, just kind of getting everybody caught up. And you can look forward to more live streams, because I love to come out and do live streams. And as this channel grows, we'll get more viewers over here, more people in the comment box, and we're just gonna have a lot of fun. Just give you my opinion, because I'm the opinionated idiot. A lot of my what do they say? Every opinions are like a-holes, and everybody's got one. So so that's gonna end this stream tonight. Appreciate everybody for hanging out, and I will see you guys on the next one. Thank you so much for watching. I am the opinionated idiot. See ya.